everyone, Ivy League Gaming here, and today we're playing Watcher of Realms. For today's video, I'm going to talk about the top epics for using in your guild boss. And when it comes to the top epics, I don't mean just who's okay for easy, normal, hard, nightmare, maybe. I mean who is actually viable. Stage 4, Stage 3, top tier damage or support. So that's what we're going to talk about for today. I think our number one epic for Guild Boss is kind of obvious with Dolores. She is a necessary component of maximizing your damage in both Guild Boss, Gear Raid 1, and lots of content, honestly. She is an offensive support hero. Now, while they do label her as a healer, she's not a very good one. So definitely don't consider her heal to be the reason she's so good. Keep that in mind. It's all about this inspiration. Her inspiration is based on her attack. So you want to build Dolores with a ton of attack to get the most inspiration possible to boost the damage of your other heroes. We all love Dolores. Not everyone has gotten lucky enough to pull her. But if you haven't pulled the Dolores, you can do the budget option. I'm just going to call out Nunya here. She has it as well. And she also gives a defense increase to give people some extra survivability. And I have seen people use Nunya in Vortex and Gear Raid 1 with success as a budget version of Dolores. We can't talk about Guild Boss without talking about the two most important factions for Guild Boss. So let's go ahead with our epic lords here. We have Pyros. So Pyros is great. He's a lord. As a lord, he gives penetration increase, which ignores 30% of defense and magic resistance for all faction allies. Of course, Twin Fiend has this as well as more, but hey, we're talking about epics right now. There's actually something pretty wonderful about Pyros that makes Twin Fiend not as good unless he has the awakening here. If he has this awakening, look at that. It's amazing, amazing. 25% vulnerability for physical and magic damage. But if you do not have an awakening for Twin Fiend and you have both Pyros and Twin Fiend in your roster, you're more than likely gonna go with Pyros because he also brings the vulnerability here with his passive. So that's just gonna help the rest of your team to do more damage. And Pyros is pretty good himself for doing damage too. Focus fire ability stacks up pretty well, but he's more about the Lord bonus. And there's actually a combination. You know what? Let's just skip ahead to that combination that I'm going to call out right now. So let's say you have a Pyros, but you're not in love with using him in the team itself. You just want to use him for his Lord bonus. And you're like, okay, vulnerability 10%, it's cool, but I want better. There is a hero that we've all been talking about lately, which I don't know why all of a sudden it's lately, because this is something we've already known about for a while, but I think some other content creators brought it back to be more relevant again. This is not news. We already knew this worked, but vulnerability, physical damage, magic damage from Mari here with the slow. Boom, boom. Alright, so here you see this is showing as 10% for Mari, but it's actually more. Extra damage taken plus 5, extra damage taken plus 5. When you fully book your Mari, which is pretty easy to do, this is 20% magic damage taken. And just so you guys know for sure what I mean, and I can show you how that translates, that I'm not just saying that, over here in skills, my Awaken 5, Mari's just chilling. Her skill right here, vulnerability, physical damage, plus 20%, plus 20% for magic damage, versus some of the other heroes that don't actually give that extra bonus. It's really quite impressive for a character that you would never think to use in Guild Boss, because you're like, but she doesn't do much damage, she freezes, she slows. That's not great for Guild Boss, but because you can technically apply this buff to the Guild Boss, the Guild Boss will be under slow, and you can add a vulnerability here. So again, this is something that you probably have seen people talk about more recently. I remember someone mentioned it a while ago, and it was just not something that many people really brought to light until more recent. But that's not news, but it's good that we're getting that circulating more because it's really helpful and can help the entire team to do more damage. Just remember that Mari herself is not going to do a ton of damage. It's about her enabling the rest of the team to do more damage. So compare your totals, but don't judge her damage too much. It's not about that. All right, now let's go to our other important faction for a guild boss. I keep wanting to call it Vortex because I have other stuff. We're talking about Wrath here. Wrath is our free hero that's extremely easy to awaken 5 for free, 100% free to play, no issues because you get the Soul Stone at day 44 to give him an extra one. Plus, you can use all the epic Soul Stones you get from Tide on him, and it's completely worth it. So getting him Awaken 5 is huge. He's a really great hero that can self-sustain, and he also adds that faction bonus. So as you have more allies deployed, up to 4 Nightmare Council members deployed, you increase up to 35% attack speed as well. And that is huge. It's such a big bonus to have them attacking more often. And you can even cheese this strategy with Wrath, even if you're not using him as a DPS because you have super OP people that are even better. You can plop him in there with 4 others and then recall them after you've placed 4, and the people that are still there are going to benefit from the 35% attack speed. But Wrath is a top tier DPS for Guild Boss, and his faction Lord bonus is wonderful as well and allows you to cheese some content. But especially with his awakenings, he just gets stronger and stronger, and you can definitely use him in your team proper. All right, let's talk about another amazing damage dealer for Vortex, and that is Deimos. Deimos is a rarer to pull hero. Not many people get Deimos or many copies of him, but if you do get a Deimos, taking him to Awaken 5 is key to maximizing his potential in Guild Boss. Using your Awakening Stones or for the epic ones we get on him is totally worth it. This Awaken 5 is amazing, ignoring 15% of the target's defense. So you want to drop him in there early, and he's just going to ramp up some serious damage. Really, really great hero that just can pump out so much, and he's great with high attack speed, crit rate, and just, you know, that quick, fast attacking, and part of the best faction for Guild Boss, the 2 best factions, I should say. So a really great option. And he will outdamage a lot of your legendaries. All right, next up, let's talk about a couple supports to finish this off. Let's talk about Hollow. If you do not have an Elowen for healer and rage booster, she can be your girl. She does have some rage boosting, which is quite nice here with her passive. Plus, she helps to heal. She is an attack-based healer, so keep that in mind when building her. But Hollow is kind of the budget version of Elowen, and she's very good either way. Definitely not just a crappy version. She's a very strong hero that a lot of people are very happy to add to their roster. So, especially if you're having to use a lineup where you're using 2 healers, you might use her and our other final mention for Guild Boss, Vortex here. He is just a great healer as well. He's based on HP, so he's easier to keep alive. You can really pump a ton of HP into him, and he's going to give big heals to an ally, and then his ultimate is going to allow him to heal multiple in range. So if you're working with 1 or 2 healers in your Guild Boss team, Vortex, Hollow are perfect examples of 2 people you might need to use. Again, remember not to consider Dolores a healer. But early on, if you're having trouble with survivability, I mean, I used 2 healers to get me through most of the content because I kind of had to, at least until I got an Elowen. And I definitely don't regret it. It helped me progress. But yeah, that kind of sums up some of the best epics for a Guild Boss. Of course, there's other healers like Midan that's amazing, and others that could be mentioned. But those are the strongest heroes that you're going to want to be looking for if you're trying to flesh out your roster. And those people can compete with the top dogs in Guild Boss. I mean, we're talking all the big boys. You know how it goes. Well, he's not using him. That's a bad example. Who's actually using their Deimos? There we go. Deimos, boom, here. My Demos is like my top damage. Sometimes we got Wrath in here. You know, you can really, really get some good advantage here. Or like him, he's not using Wrath, but just using him for his Lord bonus in this case. That's something else that is valuable in its own. And Wrath is going to be great to build for other content, even if you no longer need him as a damage dealer in Vortex or in Guild Boss. So at the very least, if you build him and then you no longer need him, you won't really regret it because you could still use him elsewhere. And yeah, really great hero. But just take a look, see who other people are using in your Guild Boss, and you might be surprised at some of these epics like Mari.